Assalamu alaikum. This is me, Dr. Amna, and today's topic is the 8th Constitutional Amendment to 1973 Constitution. This amendment is most significant in the history of Pakistan because it changed the total face of 1973 Constitution, which was purely a parliamentary form of government. And this constitution, in order to make a balance, this constitutional amendment, in order to make a balance between president and prime minister, totally transformed the constitution into a hybrid form of constitution, having some features of presidential form of government and some from parliamentary form of government. Let's discuss one by one. Restoration of constitutional order was issued in 1984 by General Ziaul Haq, though he was already having PCO. But why this order was issued? This order was issued as a package to with an offer to lift martial law after the election of National Assembly. But before that, General Zia wanted to elect himself as the president of Pakistan. So he framed RCO in a manner that it was a complete constitutional package to change 1973 constitution in a manner as required by the military dictator. Power sharing or transfer of power, that is a big question. This question always remains when military is in power and they transfer power, since they never want to transfer power or relinquish power. So what they do, that they make a power sharing arrangement, and that was done by General Ziaul Haq, and RCO was presented to the parliament later. Before that, General Zia got himself elected as a president through a referendum. In referendum, there was a tricky question, and it was about the Islamization. And in favor of Islamization, response was considered as the approval for General Zia in the office of president for the next 5 years. After that, he conducted 1985 elections on the basis of no party. Means party system was not allowed, and people were contesting election on the basis of their own identity. And this led to the nation in dividing the nation into baradaris, ethnicities, and sectarian divided. It was very unfortunate. And again, it was unconstitutional under 1973 original constitution that gives people right to have association, make a political party, and contest election. Before lifting martial law, this RCO was presented to the National Assembly, and it was a bargain between newly formed government of Muhammad Khan Junejo and President Zia that this constitutional package, if would be accepted by the Assembly, then he would be able to lift martial law. It is actually the limitation of a military dictator to get indemnity. If he could not get indemnity, then all martial law actions and all his decisions, his ordinance would be illegal, and that is liable to high treason. So all military dictator requests for indemnity and take that indemnity through the bargain with the parliament or the government, civilian government elected. So it was presented, discussed in National Assembly from March to December, and ultimately with the compromising on one clause of National Security Council, all other clauses were accepted, and all martial law actions and ordinances and decisions were incorporated into the Constitution through 8th Constitution Amendment. And President was given unlimited powers as well. 8th Constitutional did not take away extensive changes. It ratified many of the clauses, and it amended, added, modified, verified, or omitted many articles. The President was required to act on the advice of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Now he was required to act on the advice as well, but he can refuse that advice and send back for the review. And if again accepted by the cabinet and prime minister, then president was bound. But you can imagine that in the presence of a military dictator in uniform sitting as an elected prime minister, how a cabinet can dare to override his advice. So it was all powerful position for General Zia, and Prime Minister was reduced to his subordinate and senior minister, not the Prime Minister, that is the head of the government. in 1973 Constitution. The period for giving assent by the President to the bill passed by the Parliament was reduced from 45 to 30 days. However, he can send back bills with an observation to review it, and that gives him more power. But the rest of the provisions of RCO remained the same. Powers of the President to dissolve National Assembly, that was a disaster. 58(2)(b) was introduced to establish the control of the President over the working of the National Assembly, and since the government was part of National Assembly, so it established presidential control over the civilian government, Prime Minister and his cabinet. And he used this clause again and again to dissolve National Assembly and dissolve the government, elected government. And none of the government in post-Saulak period could complete its tenure of 5 years because of this constitutional amendment. Government was elected, and period of elections after dissolution of National Assembly was reduced from 100 days to 90 days. But Zaul never conducted elections within 90 days. He consciously violated Constitution. Even the 8th constitutional amendment he incorporated himself. It was again violated when, after the dismissal of Muhammad Khan Junejo, he could not conduct elections within 90 days. Powers to appoint Prime Minister. Yes, President had the power to appoint Prime Minister because there was partyless parliament and it was not clear that who is enjoying the majority. So it was the discretion of the President to appoint any person who can take vote of confidence from the parliament. But this power was restricted till March 1990. After that, the President was required to invite the person who, in his opinion, can have majority in the parliament and can take vote of confidence from the parliament.